Hello, my name is Lauren Simon, and I'm the community librarian at the Tualatin Public Library. Today, I will be giving you an overview of our second grade activity, Crayons and Popsicles. We will be covering the standard that this activity corresponds to, any prep work you need to do, recommended setup of your room, recommended group sizes for kids, any adult volunteers that you will need, and tips to watch out for. The written lesson plan will include these step-by-step instructions, and we will not be going over those in detail in this video. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me, and my contact information will be at the end of this video and also on the website. Allow yourself about 90 minutes to do both the melting of the crayons and the testing of the popsicles. You could also break this up into an activity over the course of a few days. You could have the students mix the lemonade and then freeze it overnight for them to taste the next day. Each lesson plan will list the next generation science standard that corresponds to this curriculum activity. For this particular one, the science standard that corresponds is 2 PS1-4, construct an argument with evidence that some changes caused by heating or cooling can be reversed and some cannot. More standards can be found on the lesson plan overview. Everything that you'll be receiving is listed on the website, but I will briefly go over what you'll be receiving in your box when you pick it up at the Tualatin Public Library. You will receive 4 popsicle trays in which you can prepare the frozen lemonade popsicles. I would do that at least a day in advance. You can put the toothpicks or the popsicle sticks in there at an angle so it's easy for the kids to pick up. Also included is a cooler to store the popsicles in during class. You will also receive peeled crayons that are sorted by color to be melted in the jars and then poured into the Lego forms. You will also receive various Lego molds to pour the hot wax into after it is done melting. Right now there is a tub for Lego crayons in the box that includes pre-cooled Lego crayons. However, because the kit is being checked out to various teachers, there might not be any pre-cooled Legos in the tub. It takes a few hours for the crayons to completely cool down at the end of the session. I would wait a few hours, otherwise the kids open them up and there's hot wax inside. You can use them to store extra crayons in there if you would like to pass them along to extra teachers, or take a look in there and see if there are any extras for your class. Another item you will be receiving is the jars for melting crayons. There are 32 jars, and depending on how many stations you have set up for your parent volunteers, there will be 4 to 6 jars available with each spot. I would recommend that you not bother washing these out. You can try and put the same colors in there, but it's not required. The jars will be placed inside of the pots with about 1 inch of water in each pot to act as a double boiler for the crayons. There will be roughly 3 to 4 crayons placed in each jar. You will receive 2 pitchers with 2 large spoons in order to mix up the lemonade for the kids to pour into the cups. You will also use this to mix the lemonade and pour into the ice cube molds to make the popsicles for the activity. There will also be a large amount of Dixie cups for all of the kids to drink their lemonade out of. I would have the kids hold on to the Dixie cups and then place their popsicles into the cups so it doesn't drip all over the desks. Popsicle sticks and toothpicks will also be included. The popsicle sticks are to mix the lemonade and for them to use to taste it. It's optional. You can also use either the popsicle sticks or toothpicks to put into the individual popsicles that you will be freezing overnight, so it's easier for the students to grab and have something to hold on to when they are doing their taste test. You'll also receive the oven mitts. These are useful for when parents are pouring the jars of wax into the molds. There's a few spoons to stir the crayons as they are melting. There are also 6 burners with extension cords for a parent volunteer to work at each station. These burners can turn off after a while they are heating the water, so I would keep an eye on them and make sure that they are still turned on. You might have to turn up the heat as the crayons are melting. We also have 5 glass lids. One of them went missing on another school visit. I don't use these during the experiment, so it will allow the kids a clear view of the crayons melting. I've left the glass lids in the kit to use if you would like to. There are also a few plastic placemats that will be included. You can also place the silicone molds on the placemats and pour the melted wax into them so it doesn't get the desks messy. The prep work you will need to do will include reserving your kit. You will need to freeze the lemonade overnight if you are planning to do the taste testing of the lemonade popsicles and the crayon melting on the same day. You'll want to contact your parent volunteers and make sure you have enough help, and also to review the lesson plans and anything you'll need to go over. There are a few options for running this activity. The kit is designed to have 4 to 6 stations where students can watch the changes in the crayons in person. If you don't have any parent volunteers, you can also melt the crayons underneath an Elmo camera and demonstrate it to your classroom. However, you will need 4 to 6 adults helping you in the classroom in order to run this successfully. The size of your class will obviously dictate how many students will be at each station. I would generally recommend between 4 to 6 students at each station so they're able to get a look at the crayons as they're melting. For the crayon melting portion of the exercise, the students will be in small groups. You can either have the burner located on the ground or at a small group of tables. The extension cords will plug into the wall. The burner will plug into that. The pot will be on top of the burner with about an inch of water in it, with about 4 to 5 jars set inside and 3 to 4 crayons set into each jar. There should be oven mitts, a few spoons, and the empty crayon mold for pouring the hot wax into. For the popsicle tasting and lemonade tasting portion of the activity, you can have the students stay in the same groups, or you can have them return to their seats with their parents or adults to work with them on filling out the rest of their sheet. Parent or adult volunteers are extremely critical for this activity for a few reasons. They will help the students work on filling out their paper as they're going along. They will help the students keep their faces out of the steam and from putting their hands on the hot burner. They will also be able to pour the wax into the molds. In terms of safety and running this activity, I would recommend at least 3 and up to 6 adults to help you run this activity in the classroom. I'm briefly going to share the tips and tricks that I have learned doing this activity in a number of classrooms. Have your adult volunteers arrive about 15 minutes early so they can look over what they need to do, familiarize themselves with the equipment, and look over the parent guide sheet that will be included on the website. I would also have them help you set up, which will make it a lot easier. While they are setting up, it's good to have the kids doing a separate activity, whether that's reading or finishing up another assignment, to keep them focused while the setup is going on. I would also have the kids go over safety rules before they even get in front of the equipment, basically not touching anything, being cautious of the steam that is going to be rising from the water and into the air that can be very hot. And at the very end, after the wax has been poured into the molds, it looks like they are completely done, but if the kids try and poke them or open them up, there can still be very hot wax inside. There is also a worksheet that the students will be filling out with their observations as they are doing this activity. There will be an example so the parent volunteers will understand the basic setup of what students will need to be adding to their observations. One option for this is to have the students observe and verbally talk about what they're seeing in the science experiment, and then once they are done watching the crayons melt and be poured into the molds, they can return to their seats and you can work on filling out the sheet as a group. It can be a little confusing to understand what needs to go where, and having the example be on the Elmo projector and fill it out as a group can also be helpful. When it comes to the popsicle portion of this activity, I have the parent volunteers help pass out the popsicles into the individual Dixie cups after they've tested the lemonade, and then have all of the students wait until everyone has their own popsicle and have everyone do the taste test at the same time. Before they do the taste test, you can also talk about what they're observing in their popsicle and even sketch it out. Sometimes they're more motivated to talk about their observations when they're waiting to eat their treat. There are enough crayon forms for all of the students to keep their own crayon. Generally, I give them one, and then they have the opportunity to trade it if they want to. If you are making these in class on one day, it will take about 3 hours for the crayons to totally cool and solidify, so you might have to pass out the crayons the next day. Students generally are pleased to have their own mini Lego, and I really hope that you enjoy this activity with your parent volunteers and students. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and my contact information is lsimon@tualatin.gov, and I can also be reached by phone at 503-691-3077.